schedule release. This is like the first step towards our divisional predictions, right? Because everyone asks me, I'm a little bit of a nerd, right, with the schedule release. I love it. I think it's super important. People ask me, like, oh, what do you think of teams? Like, how many games are they going to win? I don't know, right? We need to see the schedule first. The NFL scheduling is meticulous, right? I mean, like, for example, last year, the Browns and the Panthers. Nobody wants to watch that game.
No.
But week 1, when Baker's starting against his former team, that's his first game against the Browns in week 1.
Captivating.
That one I'll put on, right? If that's in week 10, when both teams are 4-6 or worse, I don't really care. That's not a game I watch, right? So the NFL, Russell Wilson, and Seattle. Going back to Seattle for the first game of the year, right? The thing got a huge number. Didn't help that it was absolute mayhem at the end of the game either, and everybody talked about it for the next 2 weeks, right? The NFL knows what they're doing. And a lot can change based on your schedule, right? So, especially being in Pittsburgh, everyone, well, what about the Steelers? I need to see the schedule, and I'm talking just in division. I won't even get into out of the division right now with Pittsburgh, right? Let's go through Pittsburgh. What if they get Baltimore late like they did this past year? Lamar hasn't played a full season in, 3 years? If they get Baltimore, because they had Baltimore, 13, and then they had a bye, and then Baltimore in 15, I think. Or maybe they had a game in between. Doesn't matter. They got Baltimore 2 out of the 3 weeks, and they were both later in the year. Well, if that's the case, Lamar could be hurt. OBJ's coming off an injury. He's been injury-prone. Rashad Bateman has yet to put together a full, complete season. Zay Flowers was hurt in college, could be hurt in the pros. So if we get Baltimore week 12 and then again in week 16, there's a good chance we're playing Tyler Huntley and practice squad guys. That changes things. I think if they get Baltimore early, Lamar with a vengeance, all these new weapons that are young, energized, ready to go, it could look a little bit different. Especially if we get them on the road early, could look a lot different. How about Deshaun Watson, right? If you get the Browns a little bit early before Deshaun starts to get on a roll a little bit, because I think we think Deshaun's going to be a little bit better, right? He takes 2 years off. So he was a little rusty. He was a little rough. We think Deshaun's going to recover at some point and at least get back to B to B plus quarterback. I don't think he ever really returns to A plus. I don't think he's going to be MVP of the league ever, that form of player. But could Deshaun be B plus and be a menace on the ground? Absolutely, he could be. But if you get him in week 9 or 10 when they're really, really rolling, ooh, that's different. Maybe if we get him early before he's on a roll, or maybe late he gets banged up a little bit, that's also different. You mentioned we have the Niners.
Yeah, the Niners.
Are they at home? We have the Niners at home?
Yes, they're coming to Acrisure.
So we have the Niners at home. And you were like, ooh, early? I don't know. And I'm like, no. Actually, I'd prefer them early. I don't know if you guys remember. The Niners frequently start, you'll look up, you'll be like, wow, through 7 weeks, they're 3-4. What's going on? Great coach, really good offensive line, nice defense. And then next thing you know, they rip off 12 straight into the 1 seed. Right, so if we get them early, right, we don't know if Brock's going to be back and how healthy is he going to be in the first couple weeks. Maybe they start Trey Lance or Sam Darnold until Brock's ready in week, 5 or 6. So you get them early, especially at home, I like our chances. Right, we get them, December, rough. Let's go Green Bay, for example, with a young quarterback. Schedule release is very, very important. They play the entire NFC South. If they get them early, while Love's still getting settled, oh my God, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. If you can go to Atlanta early in the year with Jordan Love, hey, guy, terrible defense. They drafted a running back in the top 10. Go win the game. You don't have to score a bunch of points. Go give me 24 points. That's a dub, right? Bryce Young when he's still getting settled. We get him early. Oh, beautiful, right? Green Bay's culture, run game, defense, offensive line will win that game single-handedly. Jordan Love, don't crash the Mercedes. So the schedule release is very, very important for Green Bay. How about Jacksonville? I think Jacksonville in that division has a chance to win enough games to be the 1 seed, right? Kansas City and not San Diego, I guess, LA, the Chargers, they're going to beat the hell out of each other. Who knows if either of them are going to be able to get a 1 seed, right? Even the worst team in that division, Vegas, is still probably a second place team in the AFC South to the Jaguars, probably, right? So the Jags in that division could win enough games to be a 1 seed. If, again, they get the Niners early, they play the Niners. If they can get the Chiefs late, we know the Chiefs early on, terror. But late in the year, Houston took them to overtime last year, right? Later in the year, you can get a couple breaks. It's almost like they're hiding stuff for the playoffs, resting a couple guys, a little bit more cautious. They can get the Panthers early, again, while Bryce Young's still settling in. Now the Bucks are either early or late. I wouldn't want them in the middle of the year because I do think they'll catch a little bit of the. They're not devoid of talent, but if you get them early with either a young quarterback, or whoever they're gonna start a quarterback, still learning the system, that'd be good. Or either late when they've given up hope because they've only won 3 games, right? So if the schedule breaks right for a couple of these teams, you could look up and be like, oh my god, the Jags are the 1 seed, or like if it doesn't break right, you're like, oh my god, Pittsburgh won 5 games. Like how does that happen, right? The schedule is very, very important. It'd be easy to just be like, oh, we get them at home, we get them on the road. Oh, perfect, win, loss, win, loss. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. You have to look at, oh, they start in Seattle and they're coming all the way to Carolina after a divisional primetime game the week before. Well, that's a really tough game. We know Seattle's a better team than Carolina. But if they have San Francisco on Monday Night Football, so they have 1 day less rest, and then they go back to Seattle, and then they got to fly to Carolina for like a 1 p.m. game. Now, I don't even know if they play Carolina, but that's just an example. For a 1 p.m. game, that's Carolina's football game, right? So the schedule can break a ton of different ways. I'm very excited for it. Don't overlook it. The NFL is meticulous with it. It is very, very crucial in terms of guessing wins, losses, and what teams are going to be for the season.
Yeah, timing is super important, and this is a huge timing league. You see it with trades, you see it with moves, and games, right? It's a big factor, and I think one of the best teams to look at as an example of that is Pittsburgh. You look 2 years ago, the Steelers start the season beating the Bills. Okay, if the Steelers play the Bills at the end of the year, there, what happens? Let me tell you, the Bills trounce Pittsburgh.
Right.
How about what was it, the double doink or the doink this season or this past season in Cincinnati?
Yeah.
The Steelers week 1 go in and beat Burrow and the Bengals. What does that game look like later in the year, or if we see them in the playoffs?
Not very good.
Not very good for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, right.
So you see that a lot, and it really just comes down to how that schedule plays out. And like you said, the executives at the NFL are so smart. They really know how to make the most captivating, interesting product for television, and they do it really, really well every year. I don't expect anything less this season, but nevertheless, schedule release today is going to be great.
Couldn't agree more. Let's get